I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
I've done the West, now it's time for the East. In today's video, I'm going to be predicting the standings for the Eastern Conference, starting at the 15th seed and working my way up to the 1st seed. If you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content. But with that being said, let's get right into these standings predictions. Number 15, the Charlotte Hornets. After losing Kemba Walker in the off-season, the Hornets failed to make any real improvements to their roster. The biggest move they made was probably signing Terry Rozier to a big contract, which I'm sure they'll regret in a few months. If Terry Rozier is the best player on your roster, you're not going to go far whatsoever. Rozier may get good averages, he might average over 20 points a game next season, but don't expect him to positively impact the team and get them a lot of wins. The Hornets roster is just so garbage, it's so weak, and I can't see them winning any more than 15 to 20 games next season. Sorry Hornets fans, but you've got a long season ahead of you. Number 14, the New York Knicks. Along with the Charlotte Hornets, the Knicks had a pretty disastrous off-season. After promising fans they'd get Zion, Durant, and Kyrie Irving, the Knicks failed to sign all three of those players and ended up taking in 3 forwards on multi-year deals, which makes no sense. I'm excited to see how Julius Randle and RJ Barrett perform, but that's about it, and I don't see them having any success. I have them winning around 20 games next season. Number 13, the Cleveland Cavaliers. After losing LeBron James last off-season, the Cavs have dropped off a ton, falling right down to the bottom of the East standings last season, and I expect them to have a similar season again next season. I'm unsure how Darius Garland and Colin Sexton will work together, and I think they will struggle as a duo. They both will probably fight for minutes and possessions, which is not a good thing. Plus, they'll look to tank again, and if rumors are true, probably trade guys like Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson during the season, as they really serve no purpose to the Cavs' future and are way out of Cleveland's timeline. I have the Cavs winning around 20 to 25 games next season. Number 12, the Washington Wizards. The Wizards roster has become extremely depleted over the last few seasons. After having a great season back in 2016, where they were only 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Finals, Washington has fell off tremendously, and it's to unfortunate circumstances. Injuries after injuries has destroyed this team, and the most recent major one to happen was to John Wall, where he tore his Achilles. Wall is set to miss yet another entire season, and this is devastating for the Wizards. In my opinion, they should rebuild, but as we saw in the off-season, they have no intention of doing so as they continuously refuse to trade Bradley Beal. Unfortunately, their roster is too underwhelming for me to see them having any success, so I only have them winning around 25 to 30 games next season, 35 at the max, and that's if they keep Beal. If they do go all in on a rebuild, this team could sink to the 14th seed, but I'm not expecting them to trade Bradley. With that being said though, they do have some bright spots in guys like Thomas Bryant, who could become a solid starting center, and Roy Hachimura, a great prospect they got in the draft. Unfortunately, the team is a bit too young and poor quality for me to see them winning a lot of games next season. Number 11, the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks have a very bright future ahead of them. After a slow start to his career, Trae Young has become a star and could become one of the greatest point guards in the league at some point during his career. John Collins has been silently elite, averaging close to a double-double with nearly 20 points a game. In the draft, the Hawks got DeAndre Hunter, who looks like he'll be a solid player and may have scored a gem in Cameron Reddish. With vet star Vince Carter returning, this team will have a good season, in my opinion, and will improve on from last season. However, this will just be a development year, and I don't think there is any real pressure on them to make the playoffs. Plus, I believe there are quite a few teams better than them out there right now, so that's why I have them here. An extremely bright future ahead for them, but this season is not the one that will kickstart their playoff runs. I have the Hawks winning 30 to 35 games next season. Number 10, the Chicago Bulls. Another team in the East with an extremely bright future is the Chicago Bulls. Chicago made a brilliant trade a couple of years ago where they traded their star Jimmy Butler, and it has worked out perfectly. Zach LaVine has become a perennial all-star, and Lauri Markkanen is one of the best young up-and-comers in the league. He has a bright future. The Bulls have made a lot of good moves this offseason, one of which was signing Thaddeus Young, who is a solid scorer and a great veteran leader. He can help the youngsters develop. Unfortunately, I can't see them making the playoffs just yet, but they will be consistently in there in the following seasons. I am sure of that, just a little bit more development time is needed. I have the Bulls winning around 35 to 40 games next season. Number 9, the Orlando Magic. The Magic was somewhat of a surprise team last season and actually made the playoffs, even taking a game off of the eventual champs Toronto Raptors. Their roster is very solid and overall well built. They aren't that weak in any areas, maybe except the guard positions, but then again, they didn't make too many roster improvements over the summer, which could be a problem. A lot of teams around them got better, or in general are just better, and I just don't see how they could make the playoffs next season. They'll be in the race for it, I'm sure, but once their season is all said and done, the Magic will just miss out. I have them winning around 40 to 45 games next season. Number 8, the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons are just one of those teams in the league that are very average. They're not so good that they contend for titles, but not so bad enough for them to be bottom feeders. Last season they made the playoffs and were absolutely destroyed by the Bucks and Giannis in the first round, and I expect them to have a similar season. With Blake Griffin continuing his star play and Andre Drummond also producing at a high level, this team is very solid. They got Derrick Rose in the off-season, who has proved to still be a good player. He may be a bit inefficient at times, but he can still score the ball really well and will be a valuable asset to this team. The rest of this team though is very average, and whilst I can't see them missing the playoffs, the Detroit squad is not going very far either. That's why I have them as the 8th seed, finishing up with around 40 to 45 wins next season. Number 7, the Toronto Raptors. After losing Kawhi Leonard, the reigning champs are in a bit of trouble, but not too much. Obviously, they're not going to contend for a championship again this season, but they aren't going to be horrible. In fact, with Siakam potentially becoming a first-time All-Star and most of the Raptors core staying intact, the Raptors could make a push for a top 4 seed. Unfortunately, I don't quite see it happening, but they'll definitely be in the running. Kyle Lowry, Siakam, and Gasol sounds like quite a scary group, plus they've still got Van Vliet who can heat up in any moment. The Raptors may have lost their best player in franchise history, but they are definitely not out of the playoff picture whatsoever. I have the champs winning 40 to 45 games next season, potentially up to 47 if all things considered go well. Number 6, the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat made a big move this offseason, signing All-Star Jimmy Butler. It was a move that shocked many. No one really expected Butler to go to Miami of all places, but it seems like a good fit in my opinion. Butler wants to be a lone star, and in Miami he will be, unless young guys like Hero and Adebayo break out. Butler will probably become one of the league's best scorers here, and it will be a fun team to watch, that's for sure. Unfortunately, the roster is still pretty weak in most aspects compared to other contending teams, which is why I have them as 6. Butler is a great player and the team will probably be very good, don't get me wrong, but I struggle to see them being a legit contender unless a miracle happens. That's just me though, and I'm still really excited to see how Butler plays in Miami. It'll be a fun team to watch, as I said earlier. I predict that he will win 45 to 50 games next season. Number 5, the Brooklyn Nets. The next few seeds for me were incredibly hard to decide. The 5th 4th and 3rd seeds were almost impossible for me to place, so before we get into them, these could have gone either way. The Nets, who I put 5th, could have easily been 3rd, so keep that in mind for the following rankings. But anyway, with the 5th seed, I put the Brooklyn Nets. Without Durant, they're not going to be as elite as they can be. Yes, they'll have DeAndre Jordan, Jarrett Allen, and future star Caris LeVert, but they'd obviously be a lot better with Durant. Kyrie has proven he's not a great leader, and that may let the team down a bit. The expectations for this team aren't that high if we're being realistic here, as without Durant, no one is expecting them to go on a deep playoff run. This team is still very solid though, but compared to other teams, I have to rank them below. I have them winning around 50 games next season. Number 4, the Indiana Pacers. I already made a video about the Indiana Pacers and about how underrated they are, and I'll go over it briefly now. They added Brogdon this offseason, which is huge, and it adds to the already great depth of the Pacers. They may have lost Bogdanovic, but I think they have overall improved this offseason. I've been noticing that the general consensus of this team in the NBA community is that they're alright, nothing special, but a good playoff team nonetheless. I think they're better than that. If this team can play like they did at the start of last season and like how they did in 2018, this team could easily snatch the 3rd seed and obtain 50 plus wins, which to many would be surprising. Again, this team has a ton of potential. They have an all-around great roster. Don't sleep on the Pacers, they are going to be a lot better than you think. I have them winning around 50 games next season and probably fluctuate between the 3rd and 5th seeds for most of it, but finish up as the 4th seed. Number 3, the Boston Celtics. At the 3rd seed, I have the Boston Celtics. After losing Kyrie Irving, the Celtics recovered quickly, signing Kemba Walker. Originally, I thought this was a pretty bad move, and whilst this does not make them title contenders whatsoever in my opinion, it allows them to continue to play at a high level. Kemba should be a better leader than Kyrie was, and hopefully Tatum and Brown have breakout years this season. Overall, I like the prospect of this team, and again, this team is not a title contender, but it is good enough to get up into the top 4 in my opinion. I have the Celtics winning around 50 games next season. Number 2, the Philadelphia 76ers. Though the 76ers lost star Jimmy Butler this offseason, they still improved and have put themselves in the conversation for the NBA championship next season. They kept Tobias Harris, which is a huge win, and got Al Horford, who adds height, defense, and leadership for the young group. If Simmons gets a jump shot over the offseason, he will be one of the league's best and one of the most unstoppable forces in the league. This team is shaping up to have one of the best starting 5s in the competition, and if they live up to their potential, could easily take the number 1 seed. However, I have them just missing out on that top spot. I got the 76ers winning 55 to 60 games next season. Number 1, the Milwaukee Bucks. So, with all that being said, I have the Milwaukee Bucks as the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and honestly, it shouldn't come as a surprise. Giannis is coming off an MVP season and a brilliant season in general. He's motivated to win the championship after being challenged by Kobe Bryant, and after some great off-season pickups, Giannis has the perfect team surrounding him. Losing Brogdon will sting a bit, but once the season is all said and done, I have the Milwaukee Bucks atop the Eastern Conference standings with 55 to 60 wins to their name. But that will conclude my Eastern Conference predictions. A quick recap for you all. In first we have the Bucks, followed closely by Philly in second. In third, fourth and fifth we have the Celtics, Pacers and Nets, but as I stated earlier, there is almost no gap between these teams. It really could go any way. Miami goes 6th with the Raptors and Pistons closing out the playoff picture. Outside of the playoffs is the Magic in 9th, Bulls 10th, Hawks 11th and Wizards 12th. The bottom 3 consists of the Cavs in 13th, Knicks in 14th, and the Charlotte Hornets in last place. Let me know what you guys think of these standings predictions. What would you change? Is there any teams I overrated or underrated? What are your standing predictions for the East? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.